Alright, so today we're going to be comparing these two welders to each other. Right here is the titanium 125, and this is the Arccaptain 130. They're pretty similar, I think. I'm going to show you some things I like about each welder, some things I don't like. We're going to weld with them a little bit just to see the differences, and yeah, I hope you enjoy the video. So we're going to go through the things that I like and dislike first before we start welding. Let's see, we're going to start with the titanium. Some things I like is that it's simple, it's easy to use. You got two knobs, one adjusting your voltage and one adjusting your wire speed. And inside here, you've got a nice handy little chart. That way you know kind of the basics of at least where you're going to start setting things up. It's definitely a lot more compact in here. It's a lot narrower of a machine. Whereas this one, it's a little bit longer, but it's also a little bit shorter. Some other things I like about this one is it's just compact, which they both are compact, so I guess that's something I like about both of them. They're both very compact, lightweight, and they put out a ton of power for just being a little welder on 110 volts. Now coming over here to some things I like about this one, this Arccaptain, is it's got removable cords, which is very, very handy. It makes storing a lot easier. My one complaint, I mean, yes, it has a positive and a negative, and it's clearly marked, but for beginners or stuff like that, some people might get these confused, whereas I know Harbor Freight, on their machines that have the removable cords, they have them marked where, you know, your ground clamp would go on this one and your stinger would go here and stuff like that. It's just a little bit easier to know which way you should have it hooked up with the titanium welders or the Vulcan welders. One thing I kind of dislike about the Arccaptain is it only has one knob, and that's only for amps. So my guess is that the one knob controls your voltage and your wire speed at the same time. At the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal. It's just one less variable, but I like having the two variables so that way I can more finely adjust the settings. Back to the Arccaptain, this one has three different modes. It's got flux core, it's got stick, and it's got lift TIG. And then up here you've got your different wire sizes, which is nice because that probably limits your voltage as well. So that's kind of another thing. Whereas this, if you have different, if you're running different wire, you just run higher voltage, which this one will only let you run 0.8 and 0.9 wire, versus the Arccaptain will let you run 0.8, 0.9, and 1 wire. During the insides of these machines, they've got the same components for the feed, same components. This one is a lot more compact, and I like this feeding system over this one, and I'll get to that in a second. So yeah, this is just your basic budget feed system. I will say this, how this wire is held on, I like this way better than the titanium. Now what I like more about the titanium is, one, it's more compact, but it has this, which is a cold wire feed. So whenever I have the welder on, I can just push this to feed the wire, and I won't have to pull the trigger on the gun, which is nice. Another thing I'm not really a big fan of on the Arccaptain is there's no chart anywhere to what you want to start settings at, like as a baseline, whereas this one has a handy chart, how to feed the wire and how to adjust the tensioner, which is just nice. We'll run through the cables real quick. So this is your ground clamp on the titanium, and this is the one on the Arccaptain. The titanium one is a little bit thicker metal, and this one's just a thinner copper material, but the wire gauge is the same. And then with the guns, They're basically the same, they just look a little different. Slightly different angle. The Arccaptain's a little bit beefier, and the triggers are slightly different, but they run the same basically. Handy feature about these is that they both have places for straps. I have the straps on the titanium, but I don't have the strap on the Arccaptain just because I'm probably not going to use the strap that much. But it does have a spot for it, and it does have a nice little carry handle, which is mainly why I haven't put the strap on. Now on the back of the machines, they're pretty much the same. They've got a big old fan in the back that runs. It's a constant fan, so it's just constantly cooling the electronics. This one has a coverage switch, so you won't get metal dust, dirt, stuff like that into the switch, whereas on the Arccaptain, it's about the same size fan. They're about the same, they run about the same sound-wise, or I guess loudness-wise. This one also has a switch on the back. It is not covered switch, but I don't really think that'll be that big of an issue. All right, so now that I've shown you the basics of each machine on the outside, we're going to set them up and start welding. I'm probably going to start with the titanium first, and then we'll switch over to the Arccaptain. I was editing the footage for this video, and I realized that all my footage for the titanium side of the video has no audio. Somehow my mic's glitched and didn't record any audio whatsoever. So I'm going to be redoing that part of the video, but the close-up arc shots that you'll see are from when I actually filmed the video in the first place. But I'm just redoing this part so you can see differences in the external arc shots. So we're going to be welding on some 1/8 inch steel. So I have my machine set up for 1/8 inch, which would be volt or wire speed would be at 10 and voltage would be 0.5, which I think is around I got it, and then I got it cranked up a little bit higher. So yeah, that's the settings. Now we'll get to welding. First bead, titanium. All right, so this bottom bead is what the titanium did. I'm gonna run probably a couple more beads. I'm just gonna show you just one, and then I'll run 2 more, and then I'll show you the final result of all that. Now we're gonna go on to the second bead. All right, time for the third and final bead. Okay, so here we have the final beads from the titanium 125. They're good beads. My only issue is that there's a lot of slag at the top. I ran it at a little bit of a weird angle, so that's on me. And the only other thing I'm seeing is there's a lot of spatter. I might be running a bit too hot because I just like to run things a little hotter. Or this wire's a little bit old, so it might have a little bit of moisture in it, which might be causing some of that excess spatter. But this is a good machine. I really like this machine. I've said that in several other videos. But now we're going to switch over to the Arccaptain. All right, now I think we're back. We had a little bit of a mic issue or something like that. Arccaptain setup, it is on 0.8 wire, which is the wire I'm running. It is on the Flux core mode, and we are going to run it at about, I don't know, maybe 100 amps. That seems about right. All right, here we go. First bead with the Arccaptain. All right, so this is the first bead with the Arccaptain. Now I know what you're thinking. It's a lot shinier than the wire that was on the titanium, and I'm pretty sure this wire has a higher nickel content than the other one, so that's probably why it's shinier. Once again, we got the slag up there in the corner. I'll chip that out in a second. But we're gonna run 2 more, and then I'll show you once those 2 are done, and then we will have final thoughts and wrap up. All right, Arccaptain beads 2 and 3. All right, so this is the second and third bead with the Arccaptain. Some things to point out. There's definitely still some spatter. It's definitely a lot less than the titanium, but then again, that's probably just the difference in wire. These beads are a lot shinier, and I like this how this wire runs. It just seems to run a lot crisper, but then again, that's just my personal opinion. So we've welded with both of these machines in this video, and I really like both of these machines. Now, I like a couple things about each machine that the other doesn't have. Like with the Arccaptain, I really like the removable cables. That is really, really nice. And let's see, with the titanium, I really, really like the cold wire feed. Those are some of the things that each machine has. It's just the best things that the other machine, if the other machine had, it might, you know, make the other machine better. Now, each of these machines are around the same price point. They're both under $200. They both run Flux core. They're both solid machines. I've had this one for 3 years, and I've used it a ton. I've beat this one up a lot, so I know this one works really well and will last a good long time. This one I've only had for a couple weeks. So far, I really, really like how it runs. I feel like this one runs smoother. The Arc is smoother when you're running Flux core. Some other things I really like about this machine is that it's a multi-process machine for under $200. You can max this machine out at 130 amps, and you can run Flux core, you can run stick, you can run TIG with this machine, which is pretty impressive for under $200, and it can do it pretty well. I haven't run TIG yet on it. I'm not really planning on running TIG, but it runs stick just fine, and it'll really run Flux core great. This one, I mean, you can just go out to your local Harbor Freight and buy it. You pretty much, there's Harbor Freights everywhere. Like I said, I've had this for 3 years. I've used it, I've abused it. Never had a single issue with it whatsoever. I've never overheated this machine. I've never run it through its duty cycle, and I've actually tried. I've tried overheating it, hitting the thermal overload, something like that. Never happened. But if I had to pick a winner, well, I kind of can't really pick a winner because I don't really know how durable this one is or how long this one will last. But if I had to go with longevity, how long it's going to last, I'd go with the titanium because, like I said, it's held up for over 3 years. Now, with features and how they run, I'd go with this Arccaptain. I think it's a little bit cheaper than the titanium. But just the fact that if you want a kind of a do-it-all machine for a hobbyist. I mean, you're gonna have stick, you're gonna have flux core, and you're gonna have TIG. So there's lots of stuff you can do with this machine, and they're real light. I think they both weigh about the same. They might be off by a half pound or something like that. But even if you aren't interested in this Arccaptain machine, I'd at least check out their wire. I really, really like the wire. I don't know how it'll run in the titanium. I might have to buy a spool and just run some of this Arccaptain wire in the titanium to see if it's the wire that changes how the arc runs, or if it's just the machine that runs a little bit smoother. I think that's about all I got. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope it was informative. I'll probably have more videos coming out with these welders. I'm gonna try and come up with some creative ways to put them head to head again, other than just, you know, my opinion. If we can see which one will last longer without overheating. Just try and beat this one up a little bit, because I'm honestly curious how durable this Arccaptain will be in the long run. But yeah, I think that's the end of this video. If you like the stuff I'm putting out, feel free to subscribe. I'll try and keep putting out videos every week. I might miss a couple weeks, or I might have some different content like welding or flying drones, or just some random stuff that I see I want to film. I'm gonna do it. So hope you enjoyed. Peace.